City officials announce an exciting new event center partnership. Thunder Bay's mayor on the defensive following controversial comments. And Bombardier announces massive layoffs in its aerospace division.
Good evening and thank you for joining us. Well, a group that's spearheaded by a former NHL coach has been chosen as the city's preferred potential partner for the $106 million event center.
City officials announced today they've identified Thunder Bay Live as their chosen partner to help the city move forward in developing the 5,700-seat facility. The Winnipeg Jets have also confirmed that they'd like to have their American Hockey League farm team here in Thunder Bay. Courtney Rutherford reports.
He's calling it one of his most exciting days since being elected mayor of Thunder Bay. Keith Hobbs wasn't afraid to show his excitement when it came to announcing that the city is one step closer to creating a $106 million event center. Council has given city admin the green light to negotiate a non-binding letter of intent to move forward in partnership with Thunder Bay Live.
And I've said all along that we have to do our homework. This is a piece of that assignment, but it's a very important piece and a very exciting piece when you look at the caliber of the people that we're dealing with here.
Thunder Bay Live is made up of a number of people, some of whom include Stadium Consultants International, Global Spectrum Facility Management, and True North Sports and Entertainment. Thunder Bay Live partner and former NHL coach Gary Green would like to see the Winnipeg Jets shift their farm team in the American Hockey League from St. John's, Newfoundland to Thunder Bay.
When you think of the number of times that the city of Thunder Bay will be mentioned on radio, on television, in the print media, and now in our world, it's not just locally, it's not just regionally, it is right across the world, then that is something that I know that is going to be very much an exciting element for the city of Thunder Bay.
True North CEO Mark Chipman was not on hand for the announcement, but the company made their plans clear in a news release, saying True North Sports and Entertainment and the Winnipeg Jets Hockey Club are excited about the prospect of operating our American Hockey League franchise in Thunder Bay. City Manager Tim Camiso says the city received 5 bids in the request for the expression of interest, and the choice came down to experience.
We evaluated it, and we're pleased, I think, to move forward with them, and we'll do our best to move it forward.
Although this is an important step in the process, the event center is dependent on many other pieces coming together, and that includes securing funding from other levels of government. City admin will report to council on the status of the project, including the letter of intent for approval prior to April 14th. Courtney Rutherford, TBT News.
Mayor Keith Hobbs is taking some flack from a former city mayor for comments he made yesterday on TBT News. Hobbs filed for re-election at City Hall and spoke about how hard he works for the city.
Probably harder than any mayor in history. I do over 100 hours a week.
Former mayor and current councillor Ken Boshkoff says there's been tremendous backlash over the mayor's comments. He says many people have stopped him in the street to raise the issue, and he believes it's something that should not have been brought up.
They think of me because I'm still active. But for those who have served, especially those who have passed on, I mean, that's offensive to their families, to their friends, to the people that we've supported them and their ideals to build a city.
I certainly never meant any slight against previous mayors. I'm a good friend of Jack Masters. He was actually one of my mentors when I became mayor. I was just trying to make a statement that I put in over 100 hours a week and I miss a lot of family time, and I work very, very hard. If it came out wrong, I apologize, but I was trying to make a statement that I am a hardworking mayor.
There's been some speculation that Boshkoff may take on Hobbs in the mayor's race in October, but Boshkoff says he can't make any decisions on that until the end of May due to personal reasons.
Thunder Bay transit workers gathered at City Hall last night to hear news they've been waiting for since July of 2012. City Council has now ratified that contract agreement that was worked out this weekend with 140 members of the transit union. Once again, here's Courtney Rutherford.
Local transit workers were shaking the hands of city councillors after hearing the news their new contract is now in effect. The agreement covers from July 1st, 2012 until June 30th, 2017, and provides for a $1.75 general annual wage increase to all members and an additional adjustment to the operator rate of pay. Mayor Keith Hobbs said that the wage settlement is not only fair but also reasonable at the same time.
I know this was a tough negotiation. It's lasted a long time and went to the final hour. We appreciate the service that transit gives to our citizens, and I know there's a lot of happy people tonight that there was a ratification vote, and I congratulate both sides.
Meanwhile, a property on the corner of Hutton Park Drive and Valley Street has been approved by City Council to be rezoned so multi-unit dwelling can be built. However, the proposed fourplex has Carolyn LaBelle regretting ever moving there.
Squeezing in a fourplex with 7 parking spaces will be also a huge eyesore. This would adversely affect the quality and character of this neighborhood. So I do object to this development of this 4-unit apartment dwelling.
Development Services Manager Mark Smith says it's important that people need to understand the degree that they can control their rights on their own land.
The planning process is by design flexible. It creates opportunities by design to do this very thing where we change the rules to allow for different forms of development.
Councillor Trevor Gatugo was the only one to oppose the project moving forward. He said since the lot was rezoned for a single home in 2009, it's reasonable that people who bought land in the area assume that a house would eventually be built there and not a fourplex. Courtney Rutherford, TBT News.
The Thunder Bay Police Service Board got their first update today on the new 12-hour shift schedule for city officers. The switch from 10-hour shifts was implemented earlier this month as a way to reduce overtime. And if it doesn't work out, the police chief has an escape clause in the contract. Phil Darlington reports.
According to Police Chief Levesque, it's so far so good for the 12-hour shifts that were implemented on January 8th. The officers and staff that are affected by this new shift change total 108 uniformed officers, 32 people in the communications department, and 16 people in records. But the change is still new, and only time will tell if it is effective.
Certainly from the officer perspective, the ones I've spoken to, it's been a bit of an adjustment, but they're liking the fact that there seems to be more time to do patrol and other things. Supervisors are telling me there's more time to supervise because there was a shift. So we've got more people working day shift than we did on a 10-hour schedule.
The results so far have been fewer leftover calls being transferred to the nighttime officers. There have also been a reduction of overtime hours, but the real test is yet to come as the police see an increase in calls over the summer months.
Personally, this is the 4th time I've tried to get it through. And it was finally voted on this time and made it through with the association. So we've had a lot of opportunity to look at it. I was quite comfortable going into it that we'd really done our homework and it would be successful.
According to Levesque, the agreement that was signed with the Police Association extends until the end of 2014. However, the decision can be made in August to pull the plug on the project at the end of the year and then return to the previous 10-hour shift system. Phil Darlington, TBT News.
Consultations are underway as the Wynne government begins to shape the 2014 provincial budget. Local business representatives and special interest groups spent time today lobbying Ontario's Standing Committee on Finance and Economic Affairs, all in an effort to secure more provincial dollars. Ryan Bonazzo has that story.
The anticipated jobs.
$130 billion only goes so far, and local stakeholders want to ensure the money is spent appropriately. Ontario's bipartisan Committee on Finance and Economic Affairs is traveling the province, holding pre-budget consultations with interested business and social groups. Thunder Bay Chamber of Commerce President Charla Robinson identifies several topics of relevance to local business owners who'd like to see the province's minimum wage tied more closely with the annual inflation rate, as well as continued investment in the research and mining sectors.
Without that money invested now, we're probably not going to be able to see the return on that investment in the future. It's going to make it a lot harder for the province to get those billions of dollars in taxes.
The committee also must mull over presentations made by a number of social groups, calling for, among other things, more compensation for injured workers through the Workplace Safety and Insurance Board and additional funding for hospitals to hire registered nurses. Moves advocates say will actually reduce healthcare costs over time.
Studies show the more registered nurses you have, you will actually save money in the long run. every registered nurse you have, you're going to have a $60,000 savings.
Many of our members are ending up in emergency on a monthly basis. Well, that goes to the healthcare costs.
NDP finance critic Michael Prue echoes the notion, saying changes to WSIB are long overdue.
The 2007 budget talked about fixing the system, and for the last 7 years, nothing has been done down that road, so it's very disappointing.
The PC's Vic Fideli cites a clear underlying concern articulated by both business and social interests across the province.
Heavy red tape burden and high taxes. It's quite amazing that the similarity we hear from both groups.
Thunder Bay MPP Bill Morrow, though, defends his party's track record. While he acknowledges the Liberals can't appease everybody, he feels they generally represent the will of Ontarians.
Healthcare, education, the economy, infrastructure, we've clearly, consistently, since being elected in 2003, made major investments in those areas.
But reaction will no doubt be mixed when the 2014 document is released in the coming months. Ryan Benazzo, TBT News.
The Thunder Bay Regional Research Institute is getting some expensive new equipment. The federal government is providing more than $1.4 million for new MRI technology. The announcement was made this morning by Greg Rickford, the Minister for FedNor and Minister of State for Science and Technology. The equipment will allow the Research Institute to develop new commercial products and expand the scope of research and clinical trials. Institute CEO Dr. Roxanne Delorier says she first began working with magnetic resonance imaging in 1968 and says the field has evolved enormously since then. The new equipment will help them make new discoveries in areas such as recovery from strokes.
Individuals who have had strokes and trying to understand how to rehabilitate, how the brain changes when you do rehabilitation in stroke. So you can look at something called functional imaging that, to make it simple, parts of the brain light up.
We've been a supporter of research investments for them to get to this point, and now they're taking functional magnetic resonance imaging to the next level.
Since 2006, the federal government has invested more than $20 million into the Regional Research Institute.
A new training center with a focus on forestry and mining services is under construction in Greenstone. As we told you yesterday on the News Hour, senior levels of government have come together to provide $3.5 million for the project. Dennis Ward was in Geraldton for yesterday's announcement and has more in this report.
A new training and skills development center located in Geraldton is a regional priority, according to FedNor Minister Greg Rickford. The federal and provincial governments are each providing $1.75 million for the project. Rickford feels it's money well spent.
Just a great opportunity for this particular community, 27 long-term full-time jobs, 30 new construction jobs, and of course attracting students from across the region and all of the economic spin-offs from there.
The facility is already under construction and will house 10 training rooms, meeting rooms, and other labs and offices. Northern Development and Mines Minister Michael Gravel believes the centre will help build a workforce that will meet upcoming demands.
Delighted that we've been able to help move forward this project, which has been a vision, quite frankly, for a number of years, but one that is very timely, particularly in light of the skill shortages that we already know we see in the mining sector.
The $3.5 million being provided is in addition to the $500,000 the Geraldton Community Forest has already put toward the project. The GCF will own and operate the facility. The organization already trains roughly 400 people each year, but the center will open up new opportunities, says Chair Sam Draganoff.
The needs of the area are going to require more specialized delivery educational systems, and we intend on making agreements with various partners like Northern College, like Confederation College, to come in, utilize this building, and run the programs themselves.
Greenstone Mayor Ron Beaulieu feels the center will address labor demands and benefit local businesses.
This whole project is very important to try to coordinate what we're seeing with the Ring of Fire when it comes to the mining industry, whether it's Premier Gold here, right here in the Geraldton ward. Also, when we think of the future of the forest industry in our area.
Construction on the training center at the Geraldton Airport is expected to wrap up in the summer. Dennis Ward, TBT News.
The frigid weather is back in Thunder Bay with a vengeance, and for officials at the shelter house, that means another busy day for their cold weather project. The pilot project began on December 27th, and although it is still in its learning and growing phase, it has really taken off. Shelter staff travel the city, transporting intoxicated or sober people who are found out in the cold to the shelter or another warm location. Executive Director Patty Haidu told the Police Services Board today that this project helps to lessen the burden on other services that may otherwise have to respond to calls for assistance, such as police or EMS.
Always a problem. I mean, in the middle of the night, if someone's, not able to access services and they're stranded out in the cold, that's a life-threatening condition. That's we've lost people in the past through exposure. And so we know that this program is really essential in helping people stay safe. As our numbers grow and as different agencies like the Thunder Bay Police Service note, what kind of effect it's having on their resources, hopefully we'll receive that support to continue the program year-round.
Haidu adds they are very busy with the program due to its increasing success, but it is currently scheduled to end in April.